Hello, creative people. Welcome to Creative Conversations. My name is Hollis Citron, and I am so happy that you have chosen to spend this hour with us. I'm aware that time is precious, and I am truly very grateful. So I wanted to give you a little bit of a background as to where this podcast was born. It was born from my company, I Am Creative, and the mission is to expand the definition of creativity beyond a pencil and a paintbrush, and to empower people, especially adults, to recognize their talents that come in so many different forms. So here in this space, I get to talk to so many incredible people that have jobs, hobbies, interests that have varied from holistic marketer, hormone biohacker, lawyer, actress, doctor, and so many more people that I've spoken to. And the conversation is structured around three questions. One, how do you define creativity? Two, how do you incorporate it into your life? And three, why do you think that it's important? And then we have a free-flowing conversation and we see where it goes. So my inspiring guest for today is Jeremy Lasman. Jeremy is a quantum leader and inventor of imagination technology, and he is a former SpaceX technologist and graduate of Chapman University School of Business with an emphasis in entrepreneurship. After SpaceX, Jeremy took a visionary concept and created the groundbreaking comic franchise MANIA, where he most notably spoke on a panel at Comic-Con in San Diego about mental health and comics. He is the host of the Conscious Leadership Network and president of the Universal Imagination Alliance, which is a galactic movement on a mission to reveal the superpower of humanity. Whoo! Hi, Jeremy, you here?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yay, I can.
Awesome.
Yeah, so welcome to the space. I'm so happy to have you here.
It is delightful to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, thank you for accepting. So reading your bio, I have to say there's a lot of big stuff in there. There's like all of these really cool words. So before we get into all of our questions, first of all, I wanted to say hello to our guests who are live with us. Thank you so much for being here. And any questions or comments, just put them in the chat box below, and we're more than happy to answer any questions and all that good stuff. So when going back to the beginning of your bio, can you please tell a little bit more about what imagination technology is?
Well, imagination technology is how I share my research and development into superpowers. And I go back to the longing that I had kind of, if I were to go back and give my child, like inner child, my 8-year-old self that who was dealing with so much from my parents' divorce and then living this life that was so anxious and chaotic for myself. And if I were to go back and give him a manual for how to use the imagination so that the mind doesn't use him, that was like the inspiration for imagination technology.
Oh, okay. I love it. So it's this inner child work of, as an adult going back and healing that. And yeah, very cool. Okay. And one more question before is, I love this. I know we're going to get into it probably in the second question, but when you spoke at Comic-Con about mental health and comics, can you say a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it was one of my first kind of entrepreneurial endeavors. I had a concept that I didn't know exactly how to share it, but it came from my own, I guess, first kind of experiences of transforming myself and transforming these things that I felt were like hindrances to me being even able to like step into the spotlight and do an interview like this, like that sort of resistances. And I was starting to feel that experience of turning a negative into a positive, and I wanted to share something, and I didn't know how, because I didn't figure myself to be a creative. And I love how it's going to, connect to what we're going to talk about on the podcast here. But it was me wanting to share a message, but I didn't know how to do it. It was like I wanted it like to do it through entertainment, but I didn't know how. And so Mania was born as the way that came into form, and we decided on a comic book, and none of us had ever made a comic book before, and we created this franchise, and then eventually I got to speak at Comic-Con because the mission behind it is mental health empowerment.
So this is great. So, I mean, you just had this idea and you were like, we've never done it before, but let's do it. And
it was a huge leap. Yes, it was a big step in my life, because up until that point I was more of a dreamer and never kind of took action on my ideas, and that kind of procrastination, not finishing thing, like all that stuff. And so it was a huge pivotal moment for sure.
Love it. Okay, so we're going to do a would you rather question first, and then we're going to dive into the first of 3 questions. So, Jeremy, would you rather spend the day at an amusement park or lazing around on the beach?
I would have to say amusement park.
Yeah, okay. Is there an amusement park of choice?
Say, what was that again?
Is there an amusement park of choice?
That's like kind of that. I mean, Six Flags. Six Flags is amazing.
We used to live in Valencia.
Okay.
So that's the one right near there, right?
Yes, exactly.
I never went. So you know what my answer would be, but yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Love it.
Yeah. Okay, great. So first question is, how do you define creativity?
To me, creativity are human superpowers. And it's interesting, the story that comes up around like what is creativity, because as I mentioned earlier, like I was a dreamer growing up, but I never considered that to be creative. And so when I felt like that, like I'm not creative, I'm not imaginative, like I didn't put those things together. And so because I was so logical in how I was approaching it, one of the, like when I decided to finally develop myself and make that decision in my life to grow, one of the first books I read was Creative Thinkering, which was basically like, what is creativity? So because I wanted to learn the right way to do it.
Because you're logical, so what's the right way to be creative? Yes,
exactly. I mean, but that was how I like had to take those baby steps. And so here today, like I see it's this total opposite of logic. It is the irrational. It is the outside the box, the innovation. Creativity to me is the invention that comes from a self-awareness. It's the ability to become more of a creator of life instead of a victim to life. And it allows you to, like, instead of force things, creativity allows you to flow with things. Like that to me, because it's very connected to passion for me.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Those are some really deep answers. Yeah, because I love that beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I'm a deep guy. I'm a Pisces dreamer.
Yeah, I mean, how old were you when you decided to dive into this, to like start the baby
uh,
steps?
yes, my uh, I would say it was after I graduated college, and I realized just how much I was living to please other people, and just going to college just to kind of appease my parents, kind of thing. I really didn't have my heart in it, and I just took that beat after college to be like, wait a minute, and that. Found my way into a therapist office, and then that kind of ignited that search.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you brought up so many really important points and that are so common. Like, I love how you said creativity are human superpowers.
Mm-hmm.
You were a dreamer. You never considered yourself creative, not imaginative. You're very logical. And this is so often, what I see and what I do is that, there's that formal definition that being a
Yes,
creative person is being a painter. You paint or you draw or you sculpt or, something like that. And
exactly.
those are the traditional definitions. But it's the formal definition of creativity is the formation of an idea or an object.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm. Or like
that's
the combination of two things to create that.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the definition. You look it up in the dictionary, and that's what it
that's what
says.
the book told me.
Formation of an idea or an object. And it's
Yeah,
like we do that as human beings all the time, but
exactly.
we restrict ourselves. We restrict
Mm-hmm.
ourselves because of this overthinking, because of this putting everything inside the box. Uh,
Exactly. Yes.
yeah. Yeah. So, like when you said things like invention comes from self awareness,
Mm-hmm.
creator of life instead of victim.
Mm-hmm.
That is amazing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like personally from my story, it's the overthinking, but it's also the negativity or uh like the skepticism or just all the to me it's just that neurotic mind really you don't see it as creativity, but it is creativity.
Mhm. I think you're actually, yeah, in saying that, it's like you have to have one, you can't just have like butterflies and rainbows of like, oh, da 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 da. I mean, you have to have the contrast. You have to have this other stuff, I think,
Mm-hmm.
in order to
Mm-hmm.
be able to recognize. You have to
Yes.
go through the mess in order to get to, what you're creating or,
Mm.
and a lot of times it's not a straight line. It's that whole zigzagging, ping ponging that you have to do in order to get to
Yes.
the other side of it and figure, oh, maybe that's what it was. It wasn't what I originally thought, but that's what
Yes.
it's supposed to be. Um,
Yes, yes, yes. And my language for that would be you got to get through the information to get to the imagination.
ooh, mm-hmm,
And that's yes, from
mm-hmm,
information technology to imagination technology.
mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I'm like laughing to myself because I can hear my husband saying, because I always start thinking well, I'm thinking like all the time, but especially at night, you're starting to kind of settle down. But for me, that's when my brain would
Hmm.
start to rev up. And then
Hmm.
he'd be sound asleep because he wakes up at like 3 in the morning. And I get into bed at like 11 and I'm like, Arthur, I've been thinking. And he's like, oh, crap. You've been thinking. What's going to be the word that follows that? I've been thinking. Um, for better or for worse. So, with the creation of your of now, which is
Hmm.
called, I don't want to mess up, the conscious Tell me what it's called again. The
Oh, the Leadership Network. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know we're going to go before we get into the second question, like bringing
Mm.
this into the whole creative realm. Like, tell us about this space, because I just joined it. And I have to say, like, I'm going to put in my bio and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, it's very easy to navigate. And there's a lot of really cool information.
Yes. Yeah. It's early phases. We're growing this network of people who want more kind of conscious conversations. And we know all of the kind of restrictions on Facebook and all of the drama there. And so our initial inspiration was more of a clean space to collaborate and to connect and and share that wavelength of being conscious leaders and the conversations, connections that arise from that.
Mm-hmm. So in your creative mind, like, tell me how it works for you. Is it like informing this? I'm sure it was a lot of things that kind of, scaffolded that, worked its way up to this, because you went through other things in order to birth this. But do,
Yes.
do you get like these like little downloads, or they kind of like bam, does it hit you hard, or how does it work for you
Mm.
generally?
Mm. Ooh. I mean, I would say it a little bit of everything. I mean, I don't see it as one way. I sometimes get sledgehammered with downloads, and sometimes it's more about the flow kind of thing. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
that's a good question. Yeah, maybe the way I would put it is different sides of the I guess the giving and the receiving of the download. So sometimes it's getting a download and it's like that, like coming like like that. But then sometimes it's like you're actually like at the head of it, and you haven't like fully it's not fully formed as like a download behind you, but it's like you're
Yeah.
doing it. Does that? I don't know if that. I hope that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. 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 It actually does. Yeah. Yeah. Because for me, I can say it's kind of like, yeah, some of the things like you're saying, they come really quickly and it's like very clear. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
it just kind of like literally comes through the crown and it's like, whew, okay, yep, got it, doo-doo-doo,
Mm-hmm.
done. And then other things are kind of like taking from past experiences and building on it and just being like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I didn't like how that went necessarily, but I like the idea of it. And I'm not sure what it looks like, but
Mm-hmm.
it's there and I'm shaping it. I'm kind of sculpting it and I'm shaping it, which is where then comes in my 11 o'clock Arthur, I've been thinking kind of thing. Like, yeah. I'm thinking that it could be this or it could be that, but I'm not sure. Um, and then there's a bunch of mess ups that happened and then I find it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Oh man, you paint a great picture there.
It's this whole, it's like going back to like when you said like the awareness. It's like when you're not aware, so many people, and it's nobody's fault. It's such a societal thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's the safety, there's the paradigms, there's all those things that people fall into of, why people do what they do. And parents are saying certain things based off of what their parents did and experiences and all that kind of stuff. But a lot of people stay in that safety kind of zone. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where like I really like what you said, where instead of being the victim, because we kind of victimize ourselves, like, well, this is what I'm supposed to do and this is what, I went to school for it, so what am I going to leave it now and
Mm-hmm.
like go off onto this other tangent when I just spent all this money on, which, yeah, it sounds very logical,
Mm-hmm.
but when you're so
Mm-hmm.
unhappy and you're depriving yourself of even those little bits of something that you enjoy, like what good is that doing?
Mm. So yes, yeah. The way I put it as a uh, mm, like passion. How do I? It's like it's the difference between comfort zone and zone of genius.
Mm. Mm. Hmm. Comfort zone and zone of genius. So that zone of genius being that space where you really like thrive, where it's your thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that comfort
Mm-hmm.
zone where you're just hanging out there because even though it might not feel good or it might feel good, you're just going to stay there and not
Mm-hmm.
grow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, I mean, because in all this, it's not like, well, everybody go out and quit your job because you need to go
No.
out and live your passion. And I mean, everybody has their different comfort zones, which there's nothing wrong to me about a certain kind of comfort zone. But
Mm-mm.
you do
Mm-mm.
need to push yourself out of that in order to, it's like that combination of that zone of genius, I guess, maybe in talking with that comfort zone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because if you
Mm-hmm.
stay in that space, I mean, I was in the classroom. I've taught for 30 years, art, and in many different, with kids, adults, public school systems, private shelters, teachers, kids, just with everybody. And I'm very
Mm-hmm.
grateful for every experience I've had because it's led me to this point. But when in the classroom, I got to a point of, for me, it was so funny because I never liked school, never
Mm-hmm.
liked it as a kid. So I would always laugh. I'd be like, why am I here? Like, why am I putting myself back in this situation when I never liked it as a kid? So part of me was
Mm-hmm.
kind of like, I think I want to be able to make a better circumstance for people who are going through what I went through and make it more
Mm-hmm.
positive. Like there was kind of like that within it. But I got to a point where I was like, I got to get out of my comfort. Like
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
can't anymore.
Right. Right.
I got to
It's
grow to the next level.
right. Exactly. It's like when you reach the edge of the negativity of just the negativity.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. So with this new project that you have, how long, how new is this baby?
Um, ooh, about almost a year now, I believe. I would have to. I forgot.
Hmm. So generally a year old.
Yeah, maybe about a year old.
Yeah. Do you have a company? Is there like an overarching company? I probably read it in your bio, but is it an overarching company name with all these different segments to it, or are these all different things?
It's there are different things, different collaborations I have, uh, and involvements. Um, and then I would say the overarching is the movement of sorts. And that's what we're calling the Universal Imagination Alliance, and that's kind of everything for me on the imagination technology and revealing the superpowers of humanity.
Hmm. Got it. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so let's move on to the second question, which is we talked about it somewhat, but how do you incorporate creativity into your own life? So it could be in
Mm.
work, it could be in what you do for fun, all that
Hmm.
kind of stuff.
Ooh, this is a great question. Because, like, I mean, the first thing that comes up is business, um, as the expression of it, the vehicle for it, and the um, the the application of it. But then when I go go deeper, of course, where I'm like, if we're really talking about creativity, uh, it is the way my passion is expressed, and I express passion and uh, the research and the experimentation I do is my creativity at play. I feel,
Mm-hmm.
and um, and so when it's really at that level of that power, I guess, the superpower,
Mm-hmm.
it goes into everything because it is the flow. It is the flow of how I interact with my life, and going all the way to like the reality level, um, and the mastery, self mastery, I guess is the best way to put it. That's creativity. The In terms of, to answer the question, because um, from a I guess more spiritual place, the presence, the stillness, the peace. Um, there's that, but then there's also how we play. I guess in this together, the collaborative element, and that to me, uh, I guess like that's where the creativity comes alive.
Mm-hmm.
It is where we have, I guess, uh, reality, the life, but then there's also the entertainment and the show, and I guess the more philosophical, like we're here playing these roles, I guess, and um, and so the creativity is how we be, how we're expressing our being in all these different uh, colors and spectrums, and like you said, contrasts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. This is going on such a deep level. I totally love it.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. It's just,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, that whole, in my head, I don't know if it makes sense, but I was thinking of like this whole time space continuum of like this merging
Mm-hmm.
when you were talking about self mastery and the interaction of life and roles and all of this. But more so, I guess more so it came to mind when when you were talking about being in the flow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's like,
Mm-hmm.
because when you are in the flow, you totally lose sense of time. You lose, you're just happy of being in that space. It's not like this is my job, this is my, like none of that. There's aren't those defining roles.
Yes.
Because you're just in
Right.
it.
Yes. Yes. And the oh man, I've had so much joy, growth, everything, like just the energy of that, like in the study of the flow state, and the art and the craft of it. If that, that's how I look at it. It's craft. Because it's connected to mastery. It's connected to your creativity and the way people use their tools, our tools, uh, to create stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is the basis of, it's like what I say with my company. It's creativity comes in all these different forms. So as you're saying, it's like it's your tools. So
Mm-hmm.
it's your tools from your toolbox, and you can go
Mm-hmm.
get new tools and build something else. But when you're talking about something, a lot of times I tell the story of a friend of mine who is this amazing teacher. She is like the second grade teacher that's just like, you would want your kid in her classroom because she's so out of the box. They're hands
Mm-hmm.
on. They're doing so much like real, like hands-on learning. So kids
Mm-hmm.
weren't getting math, so they weren't getting understanding subtraction. So she took them out, took them onto the slide, and every time they went down the slide, she had them say, "Take it away, take it away." So they were
Mm-hmm.
feeling it. So it was a kinesthetic thing. So when they went back into the classroom, they got it. It's like they
Yes.
understood that subtraction was taking away. But as she kind of searched for her own creative outlets by doing a lot of visual art things, and she liked them, but then when she realized that teaching was her superpower, was her tool,
Mm-hmm.
then she was like, "Oh my God," like a weight was lifted off of her shoulders.
Ah, yes. Yes. Yes.
She's like, "So when actually you put it in the terms of yours, when she found her superpower, she was like, okay, now I can do these other things and enjoy them, but it's not like the pressure of having to find, well, what is it that I'm good at? When so
Mm.
often we're we're utilizing a lot of the skills that we're good at, but maybe not to their fullest potential.
Yes, yeah, and to kind of like, I guess, translate that into uh, the high achiever language, right? It's the pushing to the edge, and like the high achievers like understand like that pushing to the edge and like going after the great, like their like greatness and all of those things, right? And that's where it's not like the comfort zone and the zone of genius are separate or distant from each other. It's like the more and more precise you get to yourself, the more in your zone of genius you are. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's where the hotness is, and that's why passion is such a thing for me, because that to me is like getting closer and closer to that fire.
Mm-hmm.
Risk.
Mm-hmm. So would you use words like, I don't know if it would actually be, but I'm just saying, would it be like your higher self or your
Mm-hmm.
innate self?
Yes, yeah, and within imagination technology, I use the quantum self theory to kind of represent uh, the that limitlessness of within the mastery is that limitless self.
Mm-hmm. Do you like Dr. Joe Dispenza?
Yes, I've listened to a few of his things. Not like not at the top of my list, but yes, I definitely love his stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I started listening to him more intense, and yeah, I like the way he puts things in simplistic form
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
in understanding that whole quantum mechanics and all of that. Um,
Yes.
when you were talking about research, you talked
Yes.
about, so what does that look like for you? Is this research like in your own study of something, or is it research in actually working with other people in that whole
Uh,
collaboration?
Yes, the latter, with other people, groups, individuals, businesses, and it's funny and fun because the journey for me was really, I love the area of experimentation, like the research and the innovative, the cutting edge. That to me lights me up. And when I was first getting things going and still doubting myself, the idea of experimentation from, I felt that societal view being like it's not good enough yet. You're still uh, it's still being developed, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's it's been that journey to arrive at the confidence that no, experimentation to me is just because I'm always doing something new and innovative.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that cutting edge thing for me is like that's where the freshness is. So that's where I love to play. And I used to feel like that meant like what I was doing wasn't like ready. It wasn't ready. Like there's,
Mm-hmm.
what that, I don't know if that makes sense, but
It
it's
does.
like that art that, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it does. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah, like that artistic, or no, I would say that my perfectionism. That's the best way to put it. Where it's like it's not ready yet. It's not ready yet. Like still holding it back because it's not perfect. It's not perfect. And so yeah, to answer your question, it's the way that I uh, research, develop, and execute different products and services
Mhm.
with imagination technology.
So when you went, did you do for school, did you do all 4 years in entrepreneurship?
No, I did 2 years at a community college and then transferred to Chapman University for the business degree.
Mm-hmm.
And
Did you?
they call it entrepreneurship emphasis.
Okay, okay. Did you enjoy it at all? Did you feel like you? You got some tools there, or do you feel like that was just like what you just did?
A little bit of both, to be quite honest. Like, I'm sure things soaked in, but until I started to like actually have more awakening in myself, it was like I wasn't really present. I was always distracted, or not fully engaged. But I was there. I did okay.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, no, because I mean, just in hearing the way you were talking about yourself when you were younger and then where you are now, I mean, there's been so much growth, it sounds like.
Yes, yes. I was my primary test subject. I took the scalpel to my own mind, as it were. Uh,
Mhm.
so I am definitely a role model of my work, or super role model.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, when you said that it's like playing on the cutting edge,
Yes.
I love those words together. Um, because you are always kind of forming something new, and it's playful. Some might see it as scary
Mm-hmm.
and not want to go there because there's a lot of unknowns
Mm-hmm.
potentially, because
Oh,
it's
oh
cutting
yeah.
edge, it's new. So, but when you can see it as playful, because I can totally relate to that in the stage that I am in my life and in the progress. Like I'm totally different than what I was when I was younger. Um,
Yes.
but because there was a lot of shyness and like a lot of things of what you said, of a lot of things that it was holding me back, not the confidence. Um, but yeah, I love that, playing in the cutting edge.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and the whole perfectionism thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a killer, isn't it? The whole perfectionism thing.
Oh yes, but also on the flip side, it is a superpower.
Yeah, no, you're
It,
right.
like, within the muscles and the mechanics and the use of focus and attention and precision. Like,
Yeah.
it is a superpower once it's not negative.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's not that, you're exactly right. It's that double-edged sword, and
Mm-hmm.
having that contrast there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you have to
Mm-hmm.
have both aspects of it. Yeah, it's true.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Because it's kind of like, I don't know if this has to do with it, but it's almost like I think of like this political correctness where everything's okay. Like, okay, just let
Mm.
it be. Yeah, just like, we don't want to say anything to like hurt anybody's feelings or anything like that. But then when you have this kind of perfection, you want to get it to be a certain point to, look good in your eyes in order to serve the purpose that it needed to do. And if it's not doing that, then it's not doing the right thing.
Right. Exactly.
So, hmm, making me think here, making me think a lot, which is a good thing.
Hmm. Empowering that imagination.
Definitely empowering the imagination.
Mhm.
Which, yeah, I mean, what do you think nowadays? Do you think do you think that imagination is, how do you think it's being utilized now? What would be your perception on that?
Ooh, wow. So there's two angles that come up. Uh, one one is hardly at all, because everyone's focused on the mind. That would be the kind of the quickest answer. But
Mhm.
then the other, uh, holistic, looking at the imagination, and the mind kind of together, um, theatrically. It's theatrically. It's it's entertainment. It is for entertainment, um, but in a self conscious, uh, more lower frequency sense. And so the it's limited in a limited way.
Okay. So you think at the point that we're at now that imagination is not being used more so to its fullest potential, that it's more limited.
Right. So in the technology metaphor, um, if we look at it, if you can't tell, I'm a big picture guy.
Mhm.
So if you look at it from evolution, like a species level thing, um, the old operating system is survival of the fittest,
Mhm.
and it's inherently fear based. And think about that like an old, Pentium 4 computer.
Mhm.
That's like the hardware and software that we're running on
Mhm.
in the old paradigm, and that's the limitation. That's the binary. That's the slow performance, bad efficiency, yada 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 of like imagining using a Pentium 4 right now. Um,
Mhm. Mhm.
Slow at process, slow, and the empowered imagination uh, represents an upgrade in the operating system level. It's because if we're still running on survival of the fittest, we're not going to be able to crash through performance barriers. We have to completely go to a new technology. And so that, like, going back, this is how I use or like invented imagination technology, was kind of bridging that, or completely, uh, you know, providing a new operating system uh, to be able to process the energy, the information more effectively, more like higher performance.
Mhm. So do you think that do you need the fear and survival mode in order to upgrade to this? Or is this in evolution getting to this other place where that isn't what's propelling it, if that makes sense?
Ex- exactly. The it's from fear to love on the broad stroke, and the the distinction I make, the line in the sand I draw is it's actually going from the human species to the superhuman species,
Mhm.
because it's a total frequency shift from low frequency to high frequency, as in self-conscious to self-awareness.
Mhm. But it's like when you think about Abraham Hicks and the emotional scale. Are you familiar with that?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yes.
So for anybody, any of the listeners who might know or not know, Abraham Hicks um, is a person you can look up on YouTube. It's a woman who is a collective. I don't know if you would say collective consciousness or spirit
Channels.
channels that come through her. And one of the things she talks about is this scale of emotion, and it goes with like fear and all those being at the lowest, and love and joy being at the highest. But what she always says is that, or he always says, is that you can't go from fear to love. It's better to be depressed than it is to be fearful, and it's better
Mm-hmm.
to be numb than it is to be depressed, or it's better to want revenge because at least you're feeling something than to be numb and then to kind of
Mm-hmm.
work itself up.
Yes, exactly.
So in what we're talking about, it's kind of like this. I mean, I don't know if I lost my train of thought in it, but it's kind of like, I guess it's not such a contrast. There's an in between in those
Yes,
in those steps.
yes, and in the so I look at it in terms of evolution,
Mhm.
soul evolution. It's healing freedom, and mastery. Those are like, that's the kind of progression of evolution in that sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That paints a really nice picture.
Mm-hmm.
Healing, freedom, mastery from the
Because
actual.
they're different conversations
Mm-hmm.
that take the journey of ascension, going to the upward spiral in its body, mind, spirit, or quantum sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, good stuff. Okay. I think we're ready for the third question.
Okay.
The third question is to wrap it up in thought, and it's stuff that we've gone over, but to wrap up is, so why is creativity important?
Oh, why is creativity important? Because it is the key or keys. It creates the keys to freedom. Uh, mm, and the awakening of the human spirit happens when creativity is playing, or playing is creativity. Um, and from that, like consciousness, it's everything is creativity to me. From that, like, it's just how we're playing with ourselves and with others. It's that's why it's so important.
Mm-hmm. It's like that core.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right, right. Because, I mean, if I can, like, kind of bring up, like, the quantum, the multiverse, like infinite possibilities, creativity on an individuality level is how we're funneling that infinite to our body, and like that in and of itself, the magnitude of that is just, I mean, it blows your mind, of like, literally blows your mind, because, like, you can't, the intelligence, the it's massive.
It is. Yeah, as you were saying that, I was kind of getting a vision of, because there are infinite possibilities, and I think when people are very aware of this, and it can be very overwhelming, because they kind of see, it's like, I feel like there again, the word contrast is like coming up a lot tonight.
Yeah.
uh, but it's like that you could see it in two different ways from a mindset point of view, to where there's so many possibilities that you get paralyzed. And it's like,
Mm,
oh God, okay, well, here's the perfectionism thing again of, well, there's so many things I could do and I don't know what to do, so I'm not going to do anything.
right. Oh,
Or,
indecision.
yes.
Indecision. Yes. Oh my God. Like, that was one of the first, uh, puzzles for myself, because being so highly sensitive, and just conscious, self-conscious, and aware of so much data at once, because that's what sensitivity to me is like, you're just aware of so many different layers, and empathizing different emotions around you, and taking things on, and, like, to try to make a choice, a decision, when all these variables are at play, and you feel that constriction. It's like, when you learn to, like, actually uh, express your voice, your creativity, you find out how complex it all is. When like, so much at once, or the writer's block of nothing at all, and you're trying to like wield it, and you learn how like that. For someone that was so logical, it was, it's like a beast. And uh and then just throwing in the other end of the extreme is the stillness it takes,
Mm-hmm.
the meditation to clear the mind so that you can access the purest creativity and passion. That's an art.
Are you still there?
So yeah, I was just saying that's an art in of itself.
Yeah.
And so yes,
Yeah.
I forgot my train of thought on that one too.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounded like the phone dropped or something. That was like a phone drop. That was like mic drop kind of moment. But yeah, that is the art of the stillness. Because
Mm-hmm.
that, like we were saying about the indecision, and then there's other people that have the freedom in all these possibilities. It's like, whew,
Mm-hmm.
there's so many it's like you can hear it in the different vibe, like, oh, there's so many different choices, or there's so many
Yeah.
different choices.
Right.
And
Oh my gosh. Yes.
how you kind of go with that. But then, yeah, the stillness and that art of that really being in the moment of it
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
listening to all
Mm-hmm.
these things that we're talking about, like listening to
Listening. Yeah.
what's coming up, to then be
Yep.
able to access it. I mean, these are just
Yes. Yes. The listening. And to me, I think it was the discernment between thinking and feeling.
hmm, hmm, yeah. And some people might say, well, what's the difference?
Mm-hmm. 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 Right. Exactly. Exactly. Like that. But within the mm, within, I guess, the mastery of it is the ease, or
Mm,
the effortlessness of that flow.
yeah.
Because if you're thinking all the time, your battery is going to get drained if it's not, being run. If the operating system isn't running most efficiently, like that's going to be the drains. That's going to be the um uh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And I know I can relate to that. Can you relate to that?
Mm.
That battery being drained at times where it's like certain days it's like, whew, that was taxing because there was just, especially with numbers. Like if you're asking me to, like with taxes and
Mm.
filling out FAFSA forms and all this kind of stuff, I fill that out
Mm-hmm.
and I have to take a nap. Like I'm just like, oh my God. I called up the
Yes.
woman and I said, I am having a panic attack. You need to walk me through this.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like,
Mm-hmm.
it's our job. I'm here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. And that like kind of brings up just going back to the conscious leadership network, and my kind of inspiration, like for me, is what you're just saying is uh the I guess the line between work and play, when that gets out of balance, that's when things get, not fun, or, not enjoyable, not exciting. Uh, and the inspiration for a conscious leadership network was like, there is like that space in the middle where it's play and work together as one passion. And that's where I aim uh to play, because that's the I mean, it's where life is alive.
Yes. Where life is alive, that sweet spot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So As we're getting to the top of the hour, like I challenge people here and all that we've talked about, there was a lot of deep comments going on here.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I challenge you to like get into that stillness and
Mm-hmm.
listen, really listen to yourself, to kind of hear, because you don't always have to think so much about the how and the where. Like, you know what you're good at. You might
Mm-hmm.
not know on this level here, but your higher self knows what you're good at.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind
Mm-hmm.
of like, and even if you have to like take the action to do things, find the stillness to then get the direction to your superpowers.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. And I would say, allow yourself to be open to the unimaginable as well.
Yes. Yes. Because that's where the gems are.
Mm, yeah, precisely.
Because you're not thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Or not
Mm-hmm.
overthinking.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm.
Well, Jeremy, so this has been so good. Please tell people how they can connect with you. And I'll put it in the bio of the podcast, but if you
Yes.
tell them, and then I will put it in writing.
Yes. So I am on most, like, the top social media. I'm Jeremy A. Lasman. They can just find me on there, and then go to consciousleadership.life to check out the Conscious Leadership Network,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where I'm like most active.
Mm-hmm. And
And
that's
yeah,
free for now, correct?
what?
That's
Yeah,
free.
right now right now we are in the early access,
Mhm.
and that's probably gonna end pretty soon. I think we had said the end of the year, but we haven't made the actual executed the shift yet. But
Mhm.
free, very very temporarily.
Mhm.
I think, actually, no, I take that back. It's always going to be free, but there's going to be different tiers, of course.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's where they can like really interact with me, and where I contribute, and then on most of Twitters and Instagrams and all that.
Mhm. Sure, on all that. Okay, great.
Yeah,
So I am so grateful that you took this hour to be with us, Jeremy. Thank you so much.
you're welcome. The questions, like, I don't know if people are familiar with human design, but I'm designed to respond, and these questions are just like right up my alley, and I just love to share on these type of conversations.
Yeah, it was great. It got to a much deeper level, which I really appreciated. So, yeah, it was really, really good. And I'm so grateful to the listeners, whether you're live or taking the time to listen in to the replay. I just really appreciate your time. I know time is precious, like I said in the beginning, and appreciate you doing it. This is all about sharing stories, connecting, and inspiring each other. So, that's what we're here to do. So
Mm.
please like, follow, share. And the next conversation is going to be on Sunday. And I'm talking to a holistic vet. And yeah, I just love talking to all you amazing people. It's incredible. So again, Jeremy, thank you so much. And listeners, and happy Friday. Have a great rest of the day, evening, wherever you are in the world.
Bye, everyone.
Okay, bye.